The Shooting Range. In this episode, Pages of History, how aircraft began to spread their wings. Triathlon, the four-engined kings of the skies. And Metal Beasts, the modern Chinese Fishcan. This summer's update brought along a whole bunch of new vehicles, and here's another one. Please welcome the top Chinese fighter jet, the J-7E, with a battle rating of 11.0. Its design was based on the previous modification of the fighter. The engineers removed parts of the wing and replaced them with new wingtips, with a lower sweep and more area. The resulting plane made its maiden flight in 1990. Its propulsion is provided by a turbojet engine with an afterburner. The wing and the fuselage house self-sealing fuel tanks, while the nose hides the radar. Its fixed armament includes a 30mm autocannon with an ammo pool of 60 rounds. The fighter can also take bombs and rockets of various calibers as well as air-to-air missiles. The new engine significantly improved the dynamics of this plane compared to its predecessor. It still lags behind the F-104S or the MiG-21 in both dynamics and maximum speed. But the increased wing area makes the J-7E's maneuverability simply excellent. It's on a par with the French Mirage fighters, which is really saying something. But we'd like to remind you one more time that losing speed in a top-tier dogfight is still a fatal mistake that every enemy nearby will use against you. Still, if you have to join a dogfight, you'll be fully ready for it with this Chinese fighter. There's a catch that has to do with maneuverability, though. You see, this plane can carry air-to-air missiles, the PL-5B. At first glance, they're all right, but they come with a caveat. Their maximum launch overload is limited to a mere 4 Gs, which is folly considering how maneuverable this fighter really is. So, our recommendation is that you let the plane straighten a little before launching missiles. As for the autocannon, it's good, but the ammo is so scarce. 30mm HE rounds can send any enemy to a meeting with the ground, but you only have 60 of them. Now, those who love to attack ground vehicles will be happy. The Type 132 rockets can turn any enemy tank into a pile of rubbish with a single hit, and you can do that 8 times in a row. To make it even more comfortable, the plane has a ballistic computer. Beware of top anti-air vehicles, though. If you spot any, keep close to the treetops. When you need to secure the air before the assault, go for a combined set of 2 air-to-air missiles and 8 rockets. Let's start with setting our terms straight. Variable wing geometry and variable wing sweep are 2 different things. The former is a wider term and denotes something that no planes can fly without. You see, a wing's geometry can be changed by high-lift devices such as ailerons, flaps, slats, air brakes, and many more, depending on what's required by the situation. Variable wing sweep, however, is a special case among this variety of mechanisms. The idea of creating it has been around for quite a while, but no one tried to actually use it. Before supersonic flight was made possible, all planes used piston engines, and their wing sweep was 0 or around 0, and that was good enough. But after the war, when aviation was quickly approaching transonic speeds, the engineers started to make compromises about wing sweep. So they took another look at the idea. Why did they have to make compromises? Well, a wing sweep of 35 degrees was the golden mean. It allowed a plane to approach the desired near-sonic speed without breaking up in mid-air and still have some takeoff and landing performance. But when you want to break the sound barrier, you need to have no compromises in your wing sweep. Take a look at the wings of the Super Sabre or the MiG-19, for instance. And here's the MiG-21, whose takeoff and landing speed was above 300 kilometers per hour. Such is the price you have to pay if you want to exceed Mach 2. So the designers were looking for ways to combine the uncombinable, and that's how they arrived at this dubious and extremely complex situation. During the early 1960s, the Soviet Union was working on two variable wing sweep machines at once. The Sukhoi Design Bureau was converting the tried and true Su-7 multi-role fighter bomber, while the MiG engineers were creating a clean-sheet aircraft design. The work of the former resulted in the Su-17, an aircraft with movable outer sections and a fixed center section of the wing, while the future MiG-23 was to have almost the entire wing change its sweep. So what was good about it? The MiG-21 had a landing speed of around 300 kilometers per hour, while the new MiG-23 could slow down to 250, which enabled it to land on shorter airstrips. It doesn't sound like much, but actually, it means a tremendous advantage in wartimes. The MiG-23 also had a maximum sweep angle of 72 degrees, which increased its top speed to 2,500 kilometers per hour at higher altitudes, making it one of the fastest interceptors of its time. All thanks to the variable sweep wing. It was a working solution despite its complexity, high mass, and the challenges it brought along. Calculating the configuration of the wing was a real nightmare for the engineers, and later everyone encountered their fair share of issues, from aircraft designers to pilots. Some completely unexpected ones would even lead to tragedy. Still, it was worth it from a strategic standpoint. The benefits outweighed the complexity and the disadvantages so much that the MiG-23 is still in service with some nations in the 21st century, just like its old partner, the Su-17. These two have more stories to tell than any other combat jet, and we're certain to share some of them in the future. In today's triathlon, we'd like to test the largest combat aircraft, the strategic bombers. Of course, it would be great to see the legendary B-29, the Tu-4 on the list, but these monsters are so different from everyone else that no fair competition would be possible. So they'll be performing an observing role, soaring up in the skies with their BR. The US is represented by the B-24 Liberator today, Germany by the Heinkel 177, Britain by the Lincoln, and Japan by the G8 Renzan. All these bombers will have every possible upgrade, maximum bomb, and minimum fuel load. The first test will show us their climb rates. The pilots will have to climb from 4,500 meters to 6,000 meters altitude as quickly as possible. It's up to the crews what speed and angle to choose. They're also allowed to open radiators to cool down the engines. Getting ready to start? Let's go! The flying giants are slowly lifting their noses and beginning to climb. At first, the difference is barely visible, but after some time we see the Japanese bomber gaining a lead. A lot lower, we see the German and British planes, while the US participant seems to be lagging behind. After a few minutes, the Renzan finally climbs to 6,000 meters, The Heinkel and the Lincoln arrive second and third respectively, while the B-24 finishes last. Now, let's see what defenses they've got. Our bombers will have to fight off two fighters, say the Soviet Yak-3Us. One of them will attack from the rear, while the other one will approach from the front. The first to complete the mission is the Heinkel this time. Its 20mm MG-151s and Minengeschoss rounds give no one a chance to get close. The Japanese bombers' machine guns have poorer ballistics, so it's harder to get a good hit at a long distance. But with the sheer number of guns installed, the Renzen easily finishes second. The British and the American bombers finish almost simultaneously, since the Lincoln has a couple of 20mm cannons in the top turret, and the B-24 has multiple large-caliber machine guns. Finally, the last part. Here, the crews will have to fly 5 kilometers to the target as quickly as possible and bomb it, maximizing the damage. We won't use tanks for targets this time. Strategic bombers need strategic targets, like airfields. Our contestants gain speed, engines at full power. The Japanese and the German bombers gain a lead almost instantly. The British Lincoln follows third, while the American bomber lags behind again. The leaders have already dropped their bombs and turned back. The Renzen only managed to knock off a quarter of the airfield's health, while the German helped itself to 2/3. Here's the British crew dropping its load, waiting for a hit. Yes! The Lincoln's bomb load is almost enough to destroy the target. The last to finish is the B-24, knocking off a little more than a third of health points. Time to sum up. The bronze goes to the British Lincoln for the best bomb load, good defenses, and decent flight performance. The silver goes to the Japanese G8 Renzen for the best flight performance and excellent defense guns. It could have got hold of the gold if it had a higher bomb load. And the winner today is the German Heinkel 177. With a good speed and climb rate, strong defenses, and an extreme damage it can deal to ground targets, it's one of the best strategic bombers in War Thunder. Well, it's time to send the giants to their respective home bases. Meanwhile, we'll answer some of those questions you've asked us in the comments. The first question was sent by a player called Martin Golay. Hi! I've seen a lot of tanks with bushes on the front, which in realistic battles helps a lot. How do you get them? Hello, Martin. What you're seeing is called camouflage decorators. You can get them for golden eagles, war bonds, or by completing special missions or event tasks and set them up in customization, decorations, camouflage. However, don't expect additional protection during battle. Surely, the decorations will add more realism and beauty to your machine, but you won't be able to hide behind them well enough to feel safe. Milkman asks, why is the lower glacis almost always less armored than the top glacis plate? Hi, Milkman. It usually has to do with the chance of getting hit on it. The lower glacis is often hidden behind the landscape. It's also smaller than the upper glacis on most tanks. Another question comes from Mima Boomer. Which Axis fighter can dogfight the P-51 Mustang and Spitfire Mark 24? Hello there. Take a look at the Bf-109, G-55, and the Ki-84. They're all great machines for achieving air supremacy, capable of competing with the American and the British aircraft. Manthas P. writes, I've been playing with the M60A2 and it feels like ATMs got a big nerf after the new update. I never got a pressure kill with them. Have they become worse heat rounds? Was that intentional? Hi, Mantis P. We haven't nerfed any ATGMs recently, no. But we still recommend to use the HE rounds on this tank, especially if you have the laser rangefinder unlocked. Many tanks, including the M60A2, can now set the lead automatically, making it much easier to hit the target with an HE round. And the last comment for today was written by Kugel. Heavy tank triathlon or climbing the rank with German Navy? When? Hello, Kugel. You know what? Why can't we have both? Thanks for the idea. Don't miss our next episodes. That's it for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment, and the next episode will premiere the following Sunday at 4 p.m. GMT or noon Eastern Time. Subscribe and click the bell if you don't want to miss our next videos, and heaven knows you don't want to miss our next videos, do you? Don't forget to bomb your drops. Drop your bombs. Leave a like, share your thoughts and comments, and see you next week.